kiddies, it's Triple Feature Tuesday once again, and this week we look at the Keanu and Kier triple feature.
Just the two of us, we can make it.
It's been a while, so I think people tend to forget about how powerful an acting duo Keanu and Kier was. I mean, there's Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, Spencer and Tracy, and then you have Keanu and Kier. Chosen one, Keanu Reeves, and German actor Udo Kier used to just tear up the joint. I mean, you couldn't get tickets to their live shows. When they started doing movies, there would be lines around the corner. I mean, they were their own blockbuster movies without even having like a giant shark or Batman in it. And now, I mean, it pains me to think about it because now, while they're both, still tremendous successes, they don't work together anymore after like the big falling out that they had. So what I thought we would do is we would look at the last 3 movies that Keanu Reeves and Udo Kier did together before the big breakup in hopes that maybe, we can foster some nostalgia and get them back together while there's still time. So our menu is going to include My Own Private Idaho, Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, and Johnny Mnemonic. In addition to just being an incredible seminal independent film of the early 1990s, Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho was a turning point for the Keanu and Kier team. You can see them starting to drift away from each other and becoming the actors that we would know them more as today. The film is predominantly about 2 male prostitutes, Mike, played by the late River Phoenix, and Scotty Favor, played by Keanu Reeves, and they're, bumming around the greater Northwest area of America when they happen to meet Hans, played by Udo Kier. And you start to see the separate personas that would define these actors as opposed to the normal caricatures that they had been very, very popular for playing up until that point, with Udo being the straight man to Keanu's comedian. Keanu is now plays the much more reserved Scotty Favor in this film, an analog to Henry V from the Shakespeare plays. And Udo plays a stereotypical creepy, weird German guy. This character, Hans, is what Mike Myers built his whole Sprockets sketch on, and, you can enjoy the Mike Myers bit, but, you really gotta, go back to the source if you want the good stuff. But you can definitely see the clear divide in this film, because they don't have terribly many scenes together when they used to be inseparable. A lot of film historians attribute this to the rising star of Udo Kier. He was just becoming more and more popular. Whereas Keanu Reeves, we'd seen the pretty face and all, but we were waiting to see something more to it. Luckily for him, this movie, he really proved himself. He's a very multifaceted character and became much more interesting as a result. But you still get a lot of the old fun, especially in the scene where Hans is lip-syncing. No, he's actually singing along to his old weirdo Kraftwerk-esque German record, and it's really a good time. Can't say enough good things about My Own Private Idaho. It is just a very moody, but not in the way moody is usually used. It's like, actually, both of those are moody and atmospheric, but it's not like a noir type of moody or atmospheric. It is just, there's a late teen, early 20s malaise that surrounds this whole film, which helped keep Keanu's career aloft before his bigger separate movies. Whereas Kier, you can see the movie is just barely containing his talent. And it's not necessarily that the movie was holding him back so much as it was just trying to rein in all of that ability for just a limited character. In between films, there were just nothing but rumors about Udo Kier's rampant womanizing. The man was a borderline Lothario. Just look at him. One of the more prominent rumors was that he was able to steal Keanu's girlfriend away from him, which may be why Gus Van Sant's adaptation of the Tom Robbins novel, Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, Keanu and Kier actually have no scenes together. I believe Udo was able to just fit in the one scene while he was busy doing a couple other movies separate from Keanu. It was at this point that he was really branching out into his solo career while Keanu was still kind of struggling. Hence why he was more inclined to take the part he did in Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, where he is playing a Native American in not a lot, but definitely a distinct amount of brown makeup. Because again, I hate that this stuff keeps coming up in these triple features about white people pretending to be other races, because it's no good. There's perfectly good actors out there of every race, creed, and color. So why aren't we hiring them? I don't think that even if Keanu and Kier had scenes together, and you could have, recaptured that K&K magic, that would have. I don't think that would have saved this film either. I was shocked because I had never really. I remember hearing about the title when it came out, and I love Uma Thurman, and Katie Lang doing the soundtrack is really great. But man, this movie is just aggressively dull, considering how quirky it intends to be, starting with Uma's oversized thumbs, all the way to, not a relentless amount of cameos, but just, there's a lot of, goofy stunt casting in here. John Hurt basically playing the nice guy version of Robert Blake's character from Lost Highway. Pat Morita with his actual real American accent playing another racially misnamed character, but at least it's, part of the plot. And, of course, since it's a movie about weirdos, Crispin Glover is in there. Because what is a movie without weirdos if Crispin Glover's not in your movie? And a random cameo by the late author William Burroughs. It's nominally about nothing, and it achieves that at least, but it's really boring on the whole way there, and then it just kind of doesn't really end so much as it stops, so I don't really know what else to say about it other than this is yet another movie on the downward trajectory of one of the greatest acting teams in the history of mankind. The last stop on that trajectory to date was the 1995 sci-fi epic film Johnny Mnemonic, which was part of the rising leading man phase of Keanu's career, which we still find ourselves in. He is still, making these action movies that are really, really fun. Whereas Udo has gone off to incredible acclaim with German experimental theater and horror movies. Johnny Mnemonic is based on the William Gibson cyberpunk short story, and this movie, I don't think you can pick a more cyberpunk movie. It is very much built on what everybody in the 80s thought was going to be in the future. And I'll be completely honest, I miss that version of the future so much. Oh man, cybernetic implants and using computers with virtual reality stuff, it just looks great, and it's still a lot of fun. And unfortunately for Keanu and Kier, this was they had put aside enough of their differences to do one last movie together to see if they could recapture what they had before. And they do to an extent, but the antagonistic relationship between Johnny and his handler Ralphie, played by Udo, I think betrays more of how they were feeling about each other than anything else. There's just a lot of passive aggression, betrayal, out-and-out punching, and then Udo being cut into many, many slivers by a laser whip that comes out of a man's thumb, because Johnny Mnemonic is awesome. But unfortunately, that was the end. They both, it was never, there was no real official statement ever made, despite, every time that they're being interviewed, they keep getting questions about if and when they're ever going to get back together. It was sort of like the way Outkast was for a while, until Outkast, finally got back together, much to everybody's happiness. But so far, K&K, Keanu and Kier, just not making movies anymore, and I miss the wild and crazy American Keanu contrasted with the, the subtle and thoughtful Udo Kier performances that we used to get back in the day. One lives in hope. They're both still alive. 2016 hasn't claimed Udo Kier yet. It has, I wouldn't be surprised if it did, though, as this seems to be really trying to be the worst year in the history of humanity, or at the very least, the worst year of my life. So, hopefully, we'll have something more fun for you after the holiday, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe Thanksgiving.